Hello, witches. Welcome to Wisdom in the Weave. A lot of us are muted.
That was Ocean's really kind way of saying, Jen, pay attention and unmute yourself. Because I was totally like going off. All right, do over. Welcome to our second live recording of Wisdom in the Weave. Wisdom in the Weave is an educational and inspirational offering for neurodivergent, black sheep, cycle-breaking queerdos. This is going to be with the Unbound Witches of Bright and Dark. The Unbound are specially trained experts in guiding neurodivergent witches in repairing their relationship with themselves, their life, and their magical practice. The Unbound collectively manage the operations of an international resource center with both virtual and physical locations, and we do so as a matriarchy. Wisdom in the Weave is unscripted and recorded live during a public live stream. To receive notifications for our live recordings or to participate in the conversation, go to our community app space at community.brightanddark.org. Hello. We are going to be starting off with one of my favorite conversations. But before we get started, I wanted to run through and introduce the Unbound witches that are here. We're not always going to be able to all show up. It is a lot of work and requires a lot of flexibility and cooperation to do the work that we do. So the witches that are here today are Maria. Say hi.
Hello. Hello.
And Ocean is here today.
Hello.
And so is Morgana. Hello. And Arrow.
Hello.
And Sarsaparilla.
Hello.
And we also have Silver.
Hello.
All right, witches. In April at Bright and Dark Center, when we take witches through our initiation process, during this month, we introduce the concept of you are not your body. We introduce the concept of your body being an ally in your practice and less of a meat suit. And so it's an interesting journey to go on to actually start asking yourselves about how your relationship with your physical body influences your magical practice. And I wanted to kind of start off, and all of us are going to weigh in on this because we all have our own relationship with this work specifically. But I was in, this is fun. Hi, guys. I started doing this work when I had my puppy at the dog park, and we were on our way to go walk back to my house, and I was thinking about the food that I was going to make my puppy. And I realized that I had invested more of my mental, physical, and emotional labor into researching what was nutritious for him, but I had never done that for my own physical body. And that just kind of led me on this whole very eye-opening, year-long journey into untangling all of the ways that I would abandon myself and abandon my relationship with my physical body. as someone who is, clinically diagnosed neurodivergent, but also with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and epilepsy and POTS and MCAS, I have a complicated relationship with being embodied. And that's actually a relationship that a lot of witches born of shadow share, this kind of complicated relationship and the way that we were taught to relate to our physical bodies under capitalism and the patriarchy. And so that was my beginning of that. And so does anyone else want to like weigh in on how your relationship with your physical body influences your magical practice?
I can weigh in. This is Maria. Thanks, Jen Marie. So I wanted to prequel weigh in first. When I was thinking about this, I realized that us doing the work, and now I've gone through this prompt 4 times or 5 times now, and it shifts, each time I engage with this month. But I can remember the very first time going through this prompt and realizing just what it brought up for different people and the shadowy areas that we were sharing. And a lot of us that had the conditioning growing up as girls, what it was bringing up for people is a lot about diet culture and like the physical presentation of your body. And that was a great place to look at to start the deconstruction process on that. And it was extremely pokey. I think I was at the point at that time where, as a neurodivergent witch, that I've learned I was neurodivergent through this process. But anyways, that I mostly was in my head a lot of the times, and that I'm a vast intellectualizer. And it was really evident how I wasn't including my body, and how after I was able to connect with the community, get through maybe into about 6 or 8 months. And I kind of came to that on my own of like, oh, it seems that there's some pieces missing, which was the physical connection with my own body. But the shadow work pieces of it were so important, like, because I definitely got that messaging, a lot of messaging in which I don't carry with me today, about what it meant to be a girl, what it meant to be a woman, what my body meant. Certainly diet culture, and all of that was part of it. So I just wanted to say that out loud, to claim it, because I think when you say what is the connection with your body, a lot of things come up initially, and people are just hearing this for the first time. They may not have had a chance to really deconstruct and feel inauthentically, no, like, I'm reclaiming myself, my body. What does this mean to me now? So I invite you to do that if that's not something you do, and we can help you with that if you come on over to community.brightanddark.org if you want, of course. It's this is a choose your own adventure type of situation. But what it means to me is now has changed so much. It really is everything. The connection with my physical body and how I connect to my magic really is so much part of what my magic is, and how I connect to the earth and everything around me. So rather than kind of thinking things separately, for me, it's about integrating all the parts and including my body in the process. And I just went through this work audit, which everybody on here knows, because anyone who's been around me for the last couple of weeks knows about it. And it's not always perfect. I feel like I've been doing this for a minute. I know all of the things that I, through my lived experience up till this point. And I recognize that I was not, including and caring for my physical body. And that was a lot of data that I collected. And rather than kind of going into the shame and guilt is a reflection on like, well, what do I want to do now? So I think that's enough for me. Thank you. Who would like to go next?
I can
weigh in if that's okay. Or who did I cut? Oh, did I cut someone off? We're gonna have to.
Astral.
No, okay. Thanks. This question got me thinking about how much working with my physical body and my magical practice in spell work and ritual has changed by doing the work. When I came into foundations, I also didn't really consider working with my body at all. And I was the type, who could go into ADHD, hyperfocus, and showering and eating and bathrooming all went to the side until whatever it was that I was hyper focusing on was done, or I was completely exhausted and crashed out. So by doing the work of learning how to connect with my body and include my body and feel my feelings through my body, clicked something in my brain for me that helped me to be able, I think, to have more in-depth, intense spell work and ritual work, because I include my body more in those processes. For me, movement is a big part of my practice, and how I bring those energetic and feeling signatures into whatever it is that I'm working on by including my body. And I do that in ways like dance is a huge piece of it. And sometimes, if you were to see me alone in my little magic room, I would probably look absolutely certifiable, because I'm working all this stuff through my body and being able to bring it into the physical realm, into this current reality, is something that doing this work helped me do, and therefore I feel like it has just expanded my magic and my magic practice and made it even more effective by including that work. So I'm gonna pass it. Somebody else had something to weigh in, I believe.
I can jump in because that's a great segue, Sarsaparilla.
Go ahead, Arrow.
Because dance, I am a really big dancer, and I've danced for most of my life. I did ballroom dancing for 9 years, and being connected with my body is important as a dancer. Knowing my body, taking care of it, but having the realization that I actually wasn't taking care of my body, and that I was asking my body a lot and not giving back to it, was like the biggest thing that hit me that first year that we went through this prompt of knowing and thinking that I did take care of my body, and that I wasn't making a space at the table for my body and listening to it and learning how to connect with it and be one with it has brought so much more to my magical practice. And I'm like Sarsaparilla. Movement is my thing. Dance is my thing. And so I am in such a different space now, and still have a long way to go. I still tend to ask my body to do a lot more than what I probably do, or should. And but taking care of it is just brought that new space to it, and it's definitely been quite the learning curve. And my body likes to remind me of it quite a bit now. And listening to my body has been really healing to actually sit with it. So there.
Can I kind of scooch in on this a little bit before we do that? Okay, so to explain a little bit, because all of them have said the work, doing the work with their relationship with their physical body. And I just kind of want to pick that apart just a little bit. The way that we're approaching our relationship with our physical body, again, as an ally. So and all of this is outlined in the grimoire of the ungovernable, how we approach our relationship with our physical body, we see ourselves as interdimensional. We have a physical expression, we have a spiritual expression, we engage with our mind, and our physical bodies hold the wisdom of our lineage, our every life that went into the creation of our physical bodies, we have access to. But most of us aren't able to actually hear, to listen to our bodies, because we have tried our best to dissociate. Being embodied is painful. Being embodied can be really uncomfortable, especially when you don't know what to do with everything that you're experiencing in your body as a neurodivergent person, right? Or as someone who would be considered disabled. A good majority of the witches, of the Unbound witches, would be considered disabled through the lens of capitalism and the patriarchy because of our relationship with our body. Do we see that as a bad thing? Absolutely not. The way that our physical bodies express themselves in this physical incarnation is important. And when we learn to actually allow ourselves to feel what our bodies and our instincts are telling us, it opens up a whole world that we couldn't see before. And when we start to create practices that encourage embodiment, we do what's called a ritual rave once a month in our coven. And it's about what it sounds like. It is a specially curated playlist of music, specially choreographed moves. We move together, we dance together. And when you have an intention that is in the spirit world, it's in your mind, and you actually pull it through your physical body and allow movement in some way in your physical body, you are bringing that thing into the physical world. You're engaging with it in the physical world. It just kind of, it roots it deeper. And so these are all just like, there's so much more to this. I could go on and on and on and on and on and on and on about what is possible when we actually allow ourselves to experience being embodied and approach that as a part of our spiritual practice, especially when we were literally raised to hate our bodies and to do everything that we could to either change us, or we were convinced that we are broken and that we are victims of our circumstances and all of these things. And when we engage with our lives like that, as witches, we are creators of worlds. And so we perpetuate that world. And so a lot of the work that we are doing is in identifying the ways that we were taught we were supposed to believe, and starting to engage with our life from the data that we collect when we actually pay attention to our bodies. And so that's the little worm I wanted to throw out there. Yeah. Silver, were you gonna weigh in?
Yes. Thank you, Jen Marie. So the first message that I ever got from my guides, right? I went into being witchy. This was right before I joined Bright and Dark. I went into being witchy through meditation and moon water, which sounds like a class, meditation and moon water. And I was meditating, and I was kind of doing this thing, I was, had an intention of how am I going to help my family, right? I was that was, a lot of people go into with helper, hero type of vibes, right? And I'm sitting there and picturing all the things I want for everyone. And then I just get drink. And I'm that's literally the first message I ever got was, take care of your body, damn it. Actually go drink something, go feed your body, go for some kind of movement. and stretch a little or something, that kind of thing. And to me, that was, very funny, but also it was pretty much like my entry point. I remember thinking about it pretty much every time this time of year comes around in the Bright and Dark program. And there was even I think a couple of different people have brought up the neurodivergent aspect of it, right? Where there's a lot of times a interoception issue, right? Either we are hypersensitive or hyposensitive, or essentially what I think is hypersensitivity then dissociated from, right? Like we were like, oh, that's way too much. Let's just not listen to any of those signals, type of thing. And so there was even a joke that I saw about, it was just like, rather than use AI, just get an autistic person, we drink less water. But then there's also the autistic people like Ocean that I saw in the comments as well that were like, no, I'm the autistic person that reminds everyone to drink water. So, it's
Absolutely.
a spectrum.
It takes a village.
Exactly.
I love getting a text from Ocean that says, "Did you drink your water today, witch?"
Yeah. I love those texts.
And then I say, "Oh, I haven't. Thank you."
Yeah. I'm gonna have to take a sip after my turn is up, because one of my practices is whenever I hear the word water, I now try to take a sip of water, so that I'm doing it all throughout the day. And another thing that comes up and came up like really, really hard this time was this idea of like, because of our conditioning, like in the society we currently live in, there's pretty much oppressor and oppressed unless you actively step out of that. And that all of us are some combination of both, right? It's not really a either or situation with as complicated as everybody is, right? Like, so like we're, queer and women, but we're white and have white privilege, right? So I feel like this is a really good, like the connection between with your body is a really good entry point into this conversation, because most of us were taught to oppress our body. That's the vehicle we were allowed to, that's the laborer that we had to oppress in our lives. And so I think that's a really good like portal to having the conversation between the part of you that did oppress and the part of you that has been oppressed, and say like, how do I make this right? Like, what do I do now? How do I not fall into kind of punishment mindset if I feel guilt or shame about having done this? And where is self-forgiveness, coming up as well, now that I'm treating like the soft animal as my body, as they say, like a person. So, yeah, I'm gonna pass it off to Morgana.
So I, in thinking about my relationship with my body and my practice, there's a couple of things to say. I was raised in witchcraft since I was born, so that's something to know. And also, I share some of these, physical conditions that we've all talked about, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and POTS and all those things. So there's a complicated relationship with my body anyway. But I've been thinking about this since we, brought it up the other day, and obviously in this month focus. And I will say that my early practice, since I was born, until I got here to Bright and Dark and have done this work, and also a lot of therapy, and some big tower moments, all those things that happen as they do. My early practice was all in my head, right? It was all intellectual. It was all alone. It was all about visualization and meditation and all of those things. And I'm, of course, not saying that those are wrong or bad in any way. But that is where my whole entire practice lived, was in my head. And I was very, very dissociated and disconnected from my body because of the things that these witches obviously have brought up. The fact that I'm chronically ill, the fact that I'm a female, the fact that, you know, all of those things. And I think that I have figured out so far, it always changes, but through this time, that my practice is now almost entirely somatic. It's all about how it feels, right? It's all of my largest magical workings, which are right now as we world build here at Weirdbrook, was all about the feelings. It was and the breath and the dance and the movement, right? Those things for me right now are so much bigger and feel so much more aligned, obviously, because I can feel feelings. Like, whoa. But it's such a shift from being all up in my head and by myself to feeling in my body with the community, right? That's just like, anyway, so I think that as I appreciate, even when it hurts, right, this physical form, that I'm kind. Jen Marie is a great reminder often when I go, why? Because it needs kindness, right? Like, we need to, like, let's take care of it. But I find that obviously there's more connection and more harmony. I'm not going to say balance, but I'm going to say harmony for sure.
Thanks, Morgana.
Either way, it's totally fine.
I know.
We got to make a song out of it somehow, like a little tune.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes. We also have an Akasha, so it's just a thing, becoming a thing. Yes. Hello again, it's Maria. So, saw some earlier comments about self-care, and it pinged me. I love also doing self-care things like manicure, pedicures, facials. Those are all in my wheelhouse, and I love those things. But I have thought and reflected a bit on how influenced I've been, because self-care has also become part of capitalism and a way to make money. It's a buzzword now. Right. And so I just wanted to call that out and recognize that, by the way, there's nothing wrong. You are not going to hear from any of these witches that anything you are doing is wrong. Anything you are doing is wrong. This is a feeling into what works for you. You choose your own adventure. We are sharing our perspective and experiences with you. There's not one way to witch. It's whatever way you witch is the way to witch. We here don't identify as like types of witches, because that's a popular question. But I think a lot of us identify with that chaos vibe. So we incorporate a lot of different things. Okay. I feel like I'm always having to preface things. So just back to the self-care. An entryway, I resonated a lot with what Morgana just said about the intellectualizing, and connecting with the elements is an entry point for me to fully connect with my body. And because I'm of the ADHD variety, I have 50 thoughts in my brain at once. Connecting to something physical like water in the shower for me is a very powerful tool to connect with my magic. I release and also call in when I'm connecting with the element of water. So just sharing, like, which tip, I guess, the physical connection with the elements, just standing outside in the sunlight and having a moment, even if it lasts 3 minutes, you can feel fully embodied at that time. So those are just ways that you can connect to your body without needing to buy anything, purchase anything, cappy, which we say a lot, capitalism, patriarchy, without engaging in those things. But those things are part of our reality right now too. So again, there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm just naming that. There are lots of ways that we can practice self-care that are connected, that we don't have to seek anything outside of ourselves to do. I also wanted to share this one witch tip because this was very powerful for me, and I loved doing the Foundations program, which is our first membership type program for our coven initiation. It's a 13th month program where we have these journal prompts, these moon focuses every month. And it was wonderful for someone like me to go through that when Jen Marie would like very nicely tell me I couldn't skip ahead or read ahead. There was nothing that I could do to move faster through it. And I was like, okay. And now I understand why. But having gone through it, round 2, like a web, you do start to make these connections. And so for me, the ancestor veneration and the body connection to me are interwoven. And it was an entry point for me to start working with my body. And you can do this even if you don't like the ancestors you knew or the family that you have now, by the way. I'm talking about lineage since the beginning of humankind. Our ancestors survived. They made it. And they were the souls that got to be embodied as humans to experience the vast array of human emotions and experience that we get to live. And so when I think about connection to my body, I also do connect it to ancestor veneration, as in my DNA, the ancestors, again, way back, the ones that are in spirit, the ones that I never even knew in this physical realm. I feel their connection, and I do that also through the connection with my physical body now, and of course, like in the spiritual, in the astral, there's other realms in which I do that work too, but it feels different, and it is a different layer to it, incorporating my body. So that was pretty cool for me, and I wanted to share that with you. Thank you. All right, I think Ocean.
Hello. Hi. Thank you. I was connecting this back to really when I first started, and I was thinking about my very first spell. Actually, I tried to do a money spell, and I took a little piece of this like tank top that like was like torn already, and like I was just kind of using for like scrap fabric. I was actually using it as like a foothold to do stretches, like to hold my foot while like pulling back. And so it was green though. So what I was doing was a money spell, or like a wealth spell. And I remember wrapping it up with like a coin, and I drew a sigil on it. Oh no, I wrapped it up with a tiger's eye, and then a sigil and a safety pin as like security. And I put it in this little like money jar that I had. I was like, okay. And then every time I put coins in there, I'm going to be like, this is just adding to my wealth. Like it was very well thought out, and I was super stoked about it. But I was really just approaching it from the aesthetic of it, and there wasn't really an actual like embodied connection to these things, right? Not that I was seeing at the time, or that I was really like connecting. So as I got deeper into this practice, I realized that my approaches often start from the aesthetic of things. Like I've been approaching a lot of things from the aesthetic. Like when I was growing up, it really wasn't a question in my brain that I was hot. I was like, yeah, I just look a certain way, and that vibes with the Cappy Pappy. And so, yeah, as I grew up and grew into my body, my PCOS started to manifest itself physically. I started growing hair on my chin. I got, I gained some weight. I, didn't really feel as much like myself. My voice got a little bit lower. All these things were happening, and I'm gender fluid, so I like was kind of embracing it as a way to uh, experience the fluidity of my gender. But when I when we got to the body month, what I realized is that this work is more than skin deep, which I know is like super cliche, but it really is. But it doesn't mean that it can't include the aesthetic. It's just I was working from the outside in, and it's the opposite way, right? You like work from the inside out. And so I promise this is all going to connect. So what I started doing is practicing my skincare as an act of devotion to my health, wealth, and abundance, right? And I started seeing how, like, I couldn't do anything without my body. I couldn't receive anything without my body. I can't. Sorry, I took notes. I just want to make sure I hit all my notes. I started seeing care as a devotion. I don't worship deities, but I think I'm going to start saying that I kind of worship myself as like, with like care as devotion, because like I don't want to put all this effort into something outside of me, right? And that's what I was doing with that money jar, was I was like trying to put this effort into something outside of me, when really the spell could have been that every time I did like my foot stretches with that like green piece of cloth, that could have been my ritual. That could have been my practice, was like the care as an act of devotion to my health, wealth, and abundance. So with that, with the different ways to do rituals, we have a question in the chat from Peter. Peter says, I'm sitting on the edge of my bed in a rehab center after surgery on 3/25. Also, I have Parkinson's disease and myasthenia gravis. I'm not great with Latin.
Good job. You did a good job.
What's that?
The nurse chiming in. Yeah, that's
you did a good job.
Thank you. That's very validating. I cannot perform my regular rituals because I never know when someone will be coming into my room. Do you have any suggestions?
Oh, can I jump into this?
Go ahead,
is so
Jeffrey.
good. You know, and it's actually really aligned as well, because we talk a lot about foundations. Foundations has a curriculum that you go through, and every year that you engage in your practice or your path as a witch born of shadow, you go deeper into these concepts of your relationship with your body. At about year 3, if you are actually choosing to become unbound, you start looking at your relationship with ableism, internalized ableism, which we are all thick with it, right? Especially those of us who struggle with being embodied in one way or another. So there are so many different ways of including your physical body in your magical practice. And the beauty of this path is its adaptability to your current lived experience, right? You're not necessarily going to be able to jump around and dance. Not everyone's able to do that. It would then become for you more of a practice of presence and acknowledgement of embodiment, right? So that means you're actually allowing yourself, what do my hands feel like right now? What does my back feel like right now? Can I feel the hair on my, whatever? So the acknowledgement of your physical body and invitation, sometimes our deepest work, given the situation, would be astral temple work for you. If you don't know what astral temple work is, that's a great rabbit hole to kind of jump into. But it's a lot of like internal work where you are kind of a great example of what an astral temple could be would be like Sherlock Holmes's like mind palace, right? But you're setting it up for yourself. So you're able to go into meditation to this special place that you have set up. For me, for the longest time, my astral temple because I did a lot of practicing in hospital rooms myself, right? Complicated relationship with your body. Right. I had an astral temple, a place that I could go to in my mind that was on the bank of a river under a weeping willow tree that had pink blossoms on it. And that's where I would do my ritual work and ceremonial work. It was in my mind. And a lot of chaos magicians will do this kind of work for the same reason that you're talking about, so that you can still connect to your practice in an environment that isn't necessarily conducive to the workings that you're wanting to do. So there's that, right? We're able, and I thank you so much for asking that question. A lot of people hold back and don't ask questions because they think that what they're experiencing is theirs alone, and that no one else can relate to what you're going through. And I'm here to tell you, and we're a lot more connected than we've been made to believe. There's a lot of us that, again, that complicated relationship with our physical body. And I do we have time? I want to just get a little bit deeper into this because we're able to, even with this question, right? And it also ties in what Silver was talking about earlier about being the oppressor, right? Our physical bodies, as descendants of colonizers, our physical bodies are our first thing that we learn to control at all costs, right? And this is one of the reasons why this is the first place that we go to when we're looking to repair that relationship. And the simplest way to be able to really see, to pull out of shadow your relationship with your body is the next time you're thirsty or hungry, what do you tell yourself? How do you approach that? Are you like, oh my God, you're so inconvenient, I have to drink? Everyone's drinking. Drink, witches, right? What is the tone of your internal dialogue, and start adjusting there. Start actually talking to your body, responding to your body as you would your most beloved pet or your most beloved like friend. Would you talk to your child that way? Right? Why are you talking to your physical body like that? Right? That's a very good like beginner's taste of the depth of this work. Now, the other thing I wanted to bring about, because one of the things that a lot of us share, again, I keep saying this, complicated relationship with our physical bodies. It's such a common thing, right? As someone who, I've explored this for a really long time, and I have done a lot of work in getting diagnoses and everything so that I can understand how my mind works, how my body works, how all of that kind of fits together. Now, I fully see, as a sorceress, I see why I need to have a complicated relationship with my physical body. If my physical body wasn't so loud and needing attention, I would really struggle with remaining incarnated. I would be off in the ether realms with things. It'd be very hard for me to come out of meditation or come out of those like really deep internal workings if I didn't get a cramp or was uncomfortable in some way. My physical body helps me in this process. They help me remain incarnated and still have the deep connection that I have with the other side, if that makes sense. I wouldn't be able to do the deep magical workings that I do if I wasn't epileptic, if I didn't have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, if my mind didn't work in the very specific way that it does. So that's like a gentle reminder that there's a reason why we were incarnated in the way that we were. And the way that our physical body interacts with our lived experience, there's so much information there about the medicine that we were meant to bring to this incarnation, right? What did our ancestors summon? Like you were summoned by your ancestors for what? And understanding, again, your relationship with your physical body is going to help with that. Even if you can't tie back your ancestral line, doesn't matter. It's still within you. You just have to slow down and actually start listening to them and stop being a fucking asshole. Ooh.
You did it first. You did it first.
It took me 45 minutes to drop an F-bomb, guys. I think this is a new record. Really. But yeah,
I hope we're far enough in.
I think so.
Well, Jen, too, we've also discussed the idea of our systems being turned up, right? The sensitivity of our systems being turned up more when we have these kind of chronic health struggles, when we have, again, the whole list of conditions that we all tend to cross over, but that the hyper, and as Silver said too, I think earlier, the hypersensitivity, right, or hyposensitivity, it changes the way that you practice, the amount of information you can receive, if your whole system is basically like an antenna. So it makes it harder sometimes, but it also can be seen as a boon, right, as a plus in terms of your practice.
Right. And the more we're able to support our physical bodies, the more information, sensory information, we can actually process. And if you are hypermobile, I'm saying this right now, if you're hypermobile and you haven't done any research on the role of fascia in your physical body, what it does, please, for the love of all that is holy, will you start looking into that? It makes so much sense as a psychic why I have my fascia is the way that it is right now. Like it all makes so much sense. And then that shift begins to happen that, I don't have this like broken meat suit. I have a finely tuned instrument. And a lot of what Morgana and I are doing here at Weird Brook is learning to work together, right? To work in community. A lot of the reasons we struggle as people that are towing the line of disability is because we don't have supports, and we're meant to fit together like puzzle pieces. Morgana and I have very similar physical diagnoses, but like for the last 6 months, somehow we've managed to, like, when I go down, she's feeling supercharged. When she goes down, I'm supercharged, because we're not able to show up on this 80-acre homestead.
Just the two of us.
Yeah, just the two of us on this 80-acre homestead. We're not able to show up all of the time, and that is okay.
Right. Okay. And the things Jen can do really well are things I struggle with, and vice versa. So we are meant to be in community. We are meant to live together. We're meant to support each other with our physical forms in all ways. But it's just a very strong illustration of how much more efficient and lovelier, I just want to say, it can be when you have support with you, that can help you do things that your physical form struggles with.
Yeah.
Silver.
I had to do a quick thing. I just wanted to say to Peter that my mom also has Parkinson's. And so this kind of like journey that we've been on together, because I live with her, has taught me a few things about, because I do, I don't think she identifies as a witch exactly, but she is witchy inherently. And it's really called into focus a lot of the small rituals that you can do, like definitely mental, right? But like you could literally just like with your fingers go like that, you know, like, and that could be a little ritual. And what also came up for me is singing or humming. I know you said that you're getting interrupted a lot, and, you know, I've had hospital stays myself, and that's so annoying. It's just like every hour almost, you know, they're just in for something else. And so I definitely understand that. And maybe even just writing like pauses into your rituals, because I think that the kind of idea that we usually operate with, like that nobody can interrupt it, right? Sometimes I will literally just put a little bubble around my physical body and say, and maybe have like some kind of a circle release that you can do, and then go back into it. That just whatever organizes your mind around it in a way that makes sense to you. But yeah, I wanted to say the singing and humming, right? Like that is not only a very intuitive and deep way to connect with the outside world. It's also really good for your vagus nerve, so which is very much the kind of whole trunk of what's happening with Parkinson's there. So I just wanted to add that in, and thank you so much for your question. I really appreciate you. I know we all do.
I just want to say that I really love how nerdy we all are.
That's
That's my favorite thing about us, is that we'll be talking and then all of a sudden, like somebody gets one of their hyper focus triggered, and all of a sudden we just get the info dump, and I love it. It's the best thing ever.
I love it too. I think it's so interesting to hear about everybody's special interests. And like, there's sometimes things you'd never expect. Like, you would not expect like one of us to just break out in a rap, but
But then there's Maria. But then there's Maria.
but then you start singing a song and you trigger their special interest and they know the entire rap, and it's amazing.
It is amazing.
I am amazing.
You are amazing, Maria.
I learned that Morgana knows the rap too, and shout out to Left Eye from TLC.
Yes. So we did have one more question that I wanted to touch on. Anna asked in the chat, did any of you connect this introduction to the body with your relationship to sex? And I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to answer this question because it goes really well with what I was saying about like working from like the outside in rather than, or the inside out rather than the outside in. And it also goes with like the proprioception and like understanding your relationship with touch, your relationship with consent. Most of us were not taught about consent, and so gaining consent with our own body was not something that we were taught to do. And so I think that my relationship to sex did like extremely change because I realized that I was trying to seek pleasure outside of myself from other people, or, you know, from my vibrator, or, you know, something outside, and I wasn't cultivating my own relationship to pleasure within my body. And then I also wasn't including my body and how they wanted to receive pleasure. It's like, you know, I'm a very much I'll try anything once sort of witch. And so I get excited mentally about the idea of things and the idea of, well, you know, I'll intellectualize it and romanticize things in my mind. But then when it comes to my actual body, they have preferences that I didn't know until I started a conversation with them. That they have boundaries that I didn't know until I started a conversation with them. And their limitations do not always match the boundlessness of my brain. So finding ways to embody my own pleasure first, and then also recognizing, is that actually being reflected back to me in my reality, or is it something that is that it can, you can like only give yourself, right? Like, sorry, this question is not coming out the way that I want it to. It is the, I really like the way that Jen Marie put it when she was like on her relationship deconstruction journey. I was really grateful to hold space for that. And it was, what did you say? You said something like, you wouldn't accept treatment from somebody that didn't match the level of treatment you were able to give yourself.
Yeah.
There. That's it. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so glad I finished my thought. That was like so satisfying.
This, like our relationship with, and I love that you brought this up. Was it Anna that brought this up? Our relationship with sex and intimacy and pleasure are absolutely explored within this. We could spend an entire year, take you through a 13-month process on this. It goes so deep. And there's been talk about it because there's several of us with the special interest. And I have several friends that is their profession, is helping neurodivergent people repair their relationship with touch and with their sexuality. It's very much a whole thing. You're very much not alone, but also when you bring trauma into the game, which so many of us have experienced, it takes us down some great roads. This hour has gone by so fast.
So fast.
And thank you, everyone that has joined us. Thank you so much for supporting this work that we're doing. It feels really important to us. We really enjoy hanging out with you. We really enjoy answering questions. So please keep them coming. And I think that this is going to be I keep saying this is going to be the best year of our lives. This is going to be the best year of our lives, and in ways that we can't even see now, because it's going to be so wonderful. It's beyond what we're able to accept at this moment. I know it in my whole soul. So again, thank you for joining us. I think, Sass, do you have a, is it called a lead out? What is it? The end of a thing.
Outro?
The
An
outro.
Yeah, an outro for us. Go to
Yeah, I'll do a little info dump with that. And like someone was mentioning in the comments, that we are having SAS that's open to the public on Tuesday night. So you can join us in the app for that. It's at community.brightanddark.org. And we want to thank everyone for joining us for Wisdom in the Weave, a Q&A with the Unbound Witches of Bright and Dark Center. We love your questions. So if there's something you'd like to discuss, leave it in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or wherever you're listening to the podcast. We also have a special section in the app that I just mentioned, and we'd love to answer your question in a future episode. If you'd like to join us live next time, we record these on YouTube on the third Saturday of every month at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on the Bright and Dark Center channel. And if you're listening to this as a podcast and want to see the video version, you can find it over there on YouTube. Until next time, stay curious, trust your own wisdom, and we'll meet you again soon in the weave.
Bye.
Bye.